Hi guys, today we're going to do a site review. Thomas reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a review of his site autolingual.com. It's a pretty cool site and I'll show you what he's doing right in a second, and then I'll dive into some opportunities and things I think he could do better or do differently to earn more money with this site. Thomas started this website around 3 years ago, and he initially wrote around 20 to 30 articles that he just put there, and then he left the site for a couple of years. And that gave him around 30 to 40 organic visitors per day. And now he has come back to the site, and over the last couple of months he has started to write more articles, and I think he's up to around 70 articles at this point. So he recently changed the domain name from myloveofmornings.com to autolingual.com. And of course he permanently redirected that old domain to the new one. And luckily that was a success. That is not always the case. It's always a little shaky when you do that, because you don't know exactly what Google will do with your site. If they're gonna love this new domain, or even if you do everything exactly like Google tells you to, sometimes you won't gain all that traffic back. But it seems like Thomas did a really good job on the site migration, because all the 30 to 40 organic visitors per day are back on the site. So as I told you, the website has around 70 articles at this point, and all the articles are what we call informational content. It's not heavily monetized yet with affiliate or anything like that. It's just good informational content, which I always advise people to start out with on a new site. So in terms of revenue, Thomas is making up to around $50 per month with the site, and that's also mainly from sharing the site on Reddit and Facebook and other social media platforms that can give some traffic boost. So that means that the traffic is going up and down, and so is the revenue. So what we're going to look at in this site review is what Thomas can do to get more stable traffic from Google organic searches, because that is by far the most reliable traffic source, and we always want to see a lot of the traffic coming from organic Google searches. So Thomas is doing a lot of things right on this website. I'm not going to dig a lot into that. I'm just going to mention some of the things that Thomas does really well with this site, so we can go on to what he can improve on. So first, I think the website just generally looks really great. I love the logo, I like the theme. I'm pretty sure this is X theme. I've been using that same theme on a couple of sites, and I'm coming back to why I also have some suggestions on a theme change for this site, even though it looks really good. He also did an about page where you can actually see Thomas, you can read a bit about the background of the site, and I think that's great for establishing trust with the reader. And Thomas also did a really good job with the domain name. I love two-word names like autolingual.com. It just sounds right, and it sounds like a website that could go big and something you could trust. It's also a great niche. It's definitely huge. I mean, you can keep growing this site forever, and that's something we really like to see. And it's evergreen content without a lot of seasonal spikes. I think people are learning languages all over the year, and you can definitely rank an article about how to learn French in 5 or 10 years from now, so that's great too. I also like to see that Thomas is using WordPress, because there's so many things that you don't need to think about when you're using WordPress. Because WordPress is doing a great job with SEO and many technical aspects, so you don't need to install a lot of plugins or work on your site technically to make things work. And the last really cool thing I just want to mention quickly is that Thomas is formatting the articles really well. He's breaking up the paragraphs so it's not walls of text as we sometimes see, and he's also doing a great job of bolding things and just making it easy for the reader to capture the essence of the article. When you start skimming, the eyes will stop every time we see a line break or a bolded text and so on. That's a great way to keep the reader engaged and to make sure that the reader doesn't just skim all the way down to the bottom and leaves the page. So the first advice I have for Thomas is to go a little deeper into the keyword research, or I prefer to call it topic research, because it's not so much about a certain keyword or a certain phrase that you want to rank for. If you write on a good topic, Google will rank you for a long list of related keywords and phrases. So here we need to remember that the site is still quite new. It's a couple of years old, and Thomas didn't do a lot of link building to the site. He didn't get a lot of websites to link to his site, and that is just great. We can definitely rank a new website without links. You can check the cards up here to see the case study where I'm ranking a brand new domain with 100 new articles without hardly any link building. And you can see exactly how fast the traffic is coming to that site after 6, 7, 8 months. So that's just to say that there's definitely nothing wrong with not building links to your site. That's what I advise most people to do, even though you'll find a ton of videos here on YouTube and articles all over the web telling you to build a ton of links. I wouldn't do that, especially not for a new site. But when we are working with a quite new site without a lot of mentions and links around the web, we need to go for what we call underserved articles. Articles and topics where we don't see a lot of competition, we don't see bigger sites or like any sites at all with a good article on this exact topic. Let's take a look at 2 articles that Thomas has on his site. Let's start by looking at this article. Is French hard to learn? So when I saw this title, I figured, I think there's a lot of searches for this search term because French is a huge language, and I mean, the first question that comes to mind if you want to learn French is, of course, how hard is it to learn? So I wanted to check this one out. When I looked at this article here, it seems like a good article. And it's 1850 words long, and I'm afraid we need a little more than that. But let's see here in Google what happens when we do the search. Is French hard to learn? Number 1 here is Quora, and that's a little unlikely, but even though it's user-generated content, sometimes Quora is a bit of a joker, and you don't know if it's going to hit you with a number 1 spot. But let's take a look at number 2 and number 3 here. So I've opened up these 2 here in the next 2 tabs here. This one, I will teach you a language.com, is French hard to learn. Let's take a look at this one. So this article here is 2,800 words, so that's 1,000 more words than what Thomas has on his article. So it's quite extensive. And the next one here in the search result, fluent in 3 months, is this article here. And this one is 1,700 words long. So it's almost 1,800 like Thomas's article. So to get to the number 1 spot in Google for this search term, you'll probably need more than 1,800 words because the other guys are 2,800 and 1,700 words. So unless your article is a lot better and the other articles are really thin, they're not outlined right, if they're not having headlines, and if it's just a wall of text, you can maybe beat it, but I'm afraid you're not going to rank number 1 for this search term. Let's take a look at another article here on Thomas's site. How long does it take to learn Arabic? This article here is 2,100 words long. So when we look at number 1 and number 2 here, the first article here is 2,000 words long and the next one is 3,300 words long. And when we look at the articles, it seems like they have formatted alright. It's not wall of text. It's quite user-friendly. And so is the other one. There's even some sound bites here where you can listen to the language. So again, for this article, I'm not sure you're going to beat those guys with 2,100 words when the other 2 are already at 2,000 words and 3,300 words. So now we took a look at 2 examples where Thomas could maybe do better with a longer article and maybe he should have stayed away from these topics. We don't know, time will tell. It will probably be 6 to 8 months before we know it. But I'll also say that as I ran through these articles and I was trying just to test a few of the titles in Google, this one for example, how long does it take to learn Danish? When I put that into Google, how long does it take to learn Danish? Number 1 here, there's an ad up here. You don't need to look at that. The first one here is Quora. Then we have Reddit. Then we have a forum. Then we probably have another forum or some Q&A site. Alright, we have a rather short article here. It's only 1,000 words. By the way, the browser extension I'm using to check the word count here, it's a free browser extension called Word Counter Plus. You just mark the text, right click, and click Word Counter Plus, and then you can see the word count here. So that's very handy. I'm very confident here that Thomas will be able to outrank Quora on this one and Reddit and Duolingo. Most of the time I see new sites beating Quora. Oh, and there was also one up here. How many hours does it take to learn a new language if you are a native English speaker? So that's not even targeted to the Danish language. So you'll definitely be able to beat that. Let's see how many characters we have here. 1,000 words. Bingo. Let's go back to Thomas's article here and see how long that is. So assuming this is a great article, which of course it is. It's a little less than 1,000 words. I would probably take this one to 1,500 words. That's typically the shortest articles my writers are writing for me. I always ask my writers to write at least 1,500 words, and if they can, if it comes easy, just take it to 1,700 or 1,800 words, just to add some distance to the competitors. And when doing topic research for the next articles for this site, I would look into Google Trends to see if we can figure out which languages are more popular to learn for Americans. Simply because ads are doing much better with traffic from the States. If you can attract that nice American audience, you will have a higher revenue from ads. And I'm sure you're going to rely heavily on revenue from ads because all the articles are more informational. They're not so much about products and reviews. So you'll have a hard time doing much with affiliate, at least on the articles you have on the site for now. Let me show you how we can check this out in Google Trends. Here in Google Trends, I have put in the words learning French, learning Chinese, learning Arabic, learning Italian, and learning German. And I've set the location to United States here. And let's look at the last 5 years just to get some more data. So over here you can see that learning French has the most search volume. It's 57 out of 100. So it will take the peak, like the biggest spike here, and call that 100. And then all the other ones will be like relative to this one. So the easiest thing is to look at these bars here. So we have French, Chinese, German, Italian, and Arabic. So now we know which languages the most people in the States are looking to learn. So that will be a great foundation. It's just great to have this knowledge because, I mean, if you could choose between an article about learning French or learning Arabic, you'll probably have 3 times more eyeballs on your articles about French. When we are looking at the articles that are sitting on the website right now, we can see that Thomas has built quite a lot of articles that are similar. So one can be, is it hard to learn French? And then you also did, is it hard to learn Hindi or is it hard to learn Italian? That's a great way of doing research because you will have this, what we call batches of articles that are similar. So remember, the main thing here is to find topics with very, very low competition. If we can find topics to write on that nobody has written before and where we only find like forums or Quora or Yahoo Answers and thin content that's user generated. When we find topics like that, we know we'll do well because we can always outrank these sites with user generated content. So if you do well with this topic research, you will do really well with the site. I know you'll get a ton of traffic because it's a huge niche and there's so many articles to write and you have a great looking site. So the next thing I want to talk about is the title of the articles. I think we can also improve a little bit here. So the way the site is set up right now is that the meta title for the site will be the title of the article and then it will append the name of the website. So let's say something like how to learn French and then it says autolingual. That's a great way to set it up. I can see you're not using Yoast on this site and that's great. I have a video up here on why I actually recommend people not using Yoast anymore. But I do think we can make some of these titles better. I think some should be longer and more enticing so people want to click them. Let's take a look at a few articles here and see how the titles are written. The first one I want to take a look at here is this one, is Russian hard to learn? And I'll say that this is simply too short. It will not take up enough space in the search result page. I would try something like, is Russian hard to learn? X clever hacks and tips. Or something like X tips to make Russian much easier to learn. As you can see here, it's more enticing to the reader to click this because I promise them they'll get some tips and things will get easier for them if they read my article. Another title I want to zoom in on here is called Algerian Love Phrases. I'd also say that this one is way too short. I think you could do better by something like X Algerian love phrases that will impress your date. Just try to make it more enticing to click it and give a promise in the title. Use the characters you have. You have around 50 to 60 characters at least before Google starts chopping them off in the search result. You should also remember to capitalize the first letter of each word in all the titles. This is something that people outside the States often do wrong. It will bring you more clicks and it will give you a little bit better click rate and it'll make it easier for you to compete with the other titles there in the Google search result. The next thing I want to talk about with this site, and something we can maybe improve a little bit on, is the whole site identity and the graphics. Let's take a look at the site and let me point out a few things. So the first thing I notice about the site here is when I go to the About page, I would probably get a picture where you can actually see your face, maybe see your smile, and you can build some trust with your face here. I'm not getting a lot from this picture because, I mean, it's hard to see even who you are. And then I would also work a bit on the contact page. It's pretty empty and just naked here. It's just a contact form. I think here you should also have a picture of you. You could maybe incorporate it into the About page, but I think it's great to have a separate contact page like this. But I would definitely have maybe another picture of you here. Maybe a picture in another setting where you are talking to some foreigners or, you know, something related to language. Let people know here when you're getting back to them, and maybe put some more contact information, like if you have a link to a LinkedIn page or a Facebook page or a YouTube channel, a Pinterest, like just put anything here that will show people that you are an actual human being. Since you're using your own name, I think you could go for a more personal about and contact page. And going back to the About page, here I think you should also think about how can you warm up people to an info course and how can you get them on that email list. So generally here, more personal pictures where we get to see you, get to trust you, so you can get those emails on your email list. And the last thing I was thinking about is on the actual blog post pages. You have this huge thumbnail picture up here, which I would just remove altogether. It takes up a lot of real estate here in the site, and you actually need to scroll quite a lot, even on desktop here, to see the headline and see the first text. So for starters, it will take up a lot of that premium ad space where you want the advertisers to bid on your site with ads, and huge images also reduce the load time, and it just removes the focus from the start of the text here. I have never seen a study or a test case so far where having a thumbnail picture here at the top of the blog post did anything good to the metrics for the site. Now let's talk about monetization. I don't know exactly what Thomas has in mind down the road for this site, but something that I think could do really well for this site is an info product. So an info product is any digital product we can come up with that we create ourselves so that we can keep 100% of the revenue that we make from this product. I think a video course like 8 steps to learn any language in X months will do really well. It can be implemented across all the articles and it will be relevant to all the readers regardless of which language they're trying to learn. And I'm sure Thomas can come up with even better ideas, and you probably have some ideas already, but I think info courses would do really well here. All your readers are trying to learn a skill, and if you can give them some tips and some tricks to speed up that process or make that process easier for them, I'm sure you can sell a lot of these digital products. I would start collecting emails right away with this site. Just put a pop-up there, maybe a pop-up after like 5 or 10 seconds, or if you don't want to do that, you can put what we call an exit intent pop-up. That will only show when people are trying to leave the page, so it won't interrupt with the whole reader experience. And you can actually start right away by promoting products that you can be an affiliate for. Find some courses on ClickBank or other courses where you can get a good solid commission. Not so much necessarily to make a ton of money right now, but to see what is selling and what is doing well. Because as soon as you know what type of course will do well with your audience and where you can get the most sales, you can start building a similar course that's just way better. I think this can be huge. I know Maria, my wife, is learning French online right now from a course she bought, and 2 years ago I was trying to learn Japanese. I also did that with an online course. And I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I think you can easily charge like a good amount of money and you can get high volume with a product like that. The next thing I want to talk about is site speed. So we're talking about how fast the site loads. When I put this site into the Google PageSpeed Insight tool to see how quickly it loads, I got a score of 18 out of 100 for mobile and 53 for desktop. These numbers are quite common when we're working with the X theme in WordPress. I would consider changing to maybe something like Astra. That's the theme I'm using for all my newer sites. You can easily hit 100 out of 100 if you're not filling it up with a lot of plugins. And with Astra, you can get the website to look almost exactly like it looks now. Maybe you can't do that carousel at the top, but I'm sure if you install the Elementor plugin, you can make that work too. And I don't know if you're using a caching plugin, but if you're not using one, you can use this one, W3 Total Cache. It's a free plugin and it works really great. Let's talk about a few other opportunities for this site. I think you could do really well with these topics on Pinterest. Everything in relation to self-improvement and skills you want to learn, they typically do really well on Pinterest. And something else that came to mind when I was browsing through some of the oldest articles on this site was that some of these articles were not really spot on. And Thomas also told me that these first articles were not great and they were not so much about how to learn language. If this was my site, I would probably go into Google Analytics and check which of these articles are getting, let's say, less than 5 or 10 page views per month, because these articles are not doing anything for your revenue and they're probably not going to do anything for the readers as well. I mean, nobody is finding these articles. I would just delete them or rewrite them or maybe bundle them together into a good meaty article if some of these topics are related to each other. I did that for my biggest website, GoDownsize.com, a couple of years ago. I deleted around half of the content on the site because it was just old and really bad articles. And right after I did that, I started immediately putting a ton of content on the site that was longer, better, more well-researched, and just in general topics that could stand a chance in Google. And I quickly started to see a rise in traffic over the next 6 to 12 months. So here are some of the articles that I would delete on this site. For example, this one, Why I Learn Languages. I didn't read all of this, but I assume it's an article that's very personal. It's your opinion about why you want to learn languages, and I highly doubt anybody's interested in that. Another article here, An Algerian Song. I mean, it's off topic to the rest of the site and I don't think it will drive any traffic. I also found another article where Thomas was talking about a future project he wanted to do one day. I think you could delete that type of content as well. Thomas also told me that he's considering getting the website translated into other languages. I can see why you want to do that. I mean, why not get more eyeballs and why not make it accessible to more people? But the thing is, when we're talking about income from ads, which will do well on this site, and you will definitely have to rely on ads because it's not heavily skewed toward affiliate offers and so on. When you need the income from ads, we want to go for an American audience. They always pay better because the advertisers want to advertise toward Americans. You can also do great in other countries. I mean, UK traffic and even traffic from Denmark, where I'm from, I also see that traffic do pretty well. But if you're going to areas like Thailand and the Philippines or maybe African countries, where the economies and the buying power of the users is not that strong as in the States, we many times see that brands don't want to advertise there. So we don't get as much revenue from ads. So I would strongly advise you to continue building American traffic because there's a ton of articles you can write. I'm sure you'll find many topics to write on that you can do well with. You will never run out of topics in such a broad niche. I would just go for US traffic. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week and I will have much more content coming your way. See you.